Hey, welcome into Stone Cold Stros, episode 8 of season 2. I'm Brandon Strange. I'm joined by Charlie Palillo and Josh Jordan. Read Charlie's column weekly on sportsmap.com and follow him on X at Palillo. Follow Josh at JoshJordan975 on X and read his work daily on sportsmap.com. Just a quick note. We are on a drive to 25. We are trying to get to 25,000 subs on the channel, and we need your help. If you haven't yet hit subscribe, please do. We cordially invite you to do so now. If you haven't yet, everyone can help us by doing that right now. If you have or haven't, everyone can help us by hitting like on the video. The Astros need all the good vibes they can get right now, and that is one way to help. Charlie, a sweep at the hands of the rival Yankees isn't an ideal way to start the season. Which is the bigger Astros killer right now, Juan Soto or Minute Maid Park?
Oh, boy. Yeah. Look, no one sane should be feeling around for a ripcord on the season. A 4-game losing streak in June, July isn't a lot of fun. If it comes at the hand of the Yankees, it's less fun. It was bad. We're not here to sugarcoat. 0-4 is 0-4. 7-26. The Astros now in their last 33 games that count at Minute Maid Park. Seemingly impossible, except we know it's reality. It's reasonably inexplicable. The silly little alibi or excuses or grasps at straws. Maybe it's the batting eye. Maybe it's karma. They've just played too much lousy baseball, and sometimes the other team just plays better. I don't think they're going to play at an inept pace all season long, but after last year having a losing record and then, of course, getting destroyed by the Rangers in 4 games at Minute Maid Park to come out and lose 4 in a row to the Yankees to start. So much for washing the taste out of your mouth. That said, again, 0-4, you can't be any uglier than that opening weekend, but they lost 2 one-run games and a 5-3 game. Oddly, the only game that was a blowout was the one game where the Astros got a quality start. Christian Javier, 6 shutout innings, earned runless innings. The Yankees commit 3 errors in the game, but the softest underbelly of the Astros, the bullpen bridging the starters to the closers, fell apart because, frankly, the Astros have a bunch of guys in those roles now who are not legitimate major leaguers. While no bullpens have 6, 7, 8 really good pitchers, the Astros have guys in the major leagues now because they watched their depth walk out the door. By the way, through opening weekend, collectively, Neris, Maton, Stanek, ERA 0. 4 innings pitched. Neris did get the Cubs' only win over the Rangers, so thanks, Hector, for that. But the M&M boys for the Astros, Martinez and Montero and Mashinsky, not so good. And then you add in Brandon Bielak, and I'm missing Taylor Scott. I mean, you're pulling strings and pushing buttons that you should be only hoping for good results, not expecting good results. But you know what, to me, on the pitching side was the most frustrating thing of the weekend? Josh Hader in the 9th inning, Sunday. I mean, they didn't hit lasers off of him. And Juan Soto's just a great, great hitter who went outside on a pitch and laced it to left field. Many closers aren't good at holding base runners. But this was a point of emphasis for the Astros pitching staff in spring training. And Josh Hader, and if we want to throw in Yainer Diaz as the catcher, the dugout, the coaching staff, flat out negligence, letting Gleyber Torres sashay to steal second and get into scoring position where a single delivers the go-ahead run, and then paying no attention to him. He's running on the pitch, right, the tiny left field at Minute Maid Park. Soto slashes a ball to left field, 0 chance to make a play at the plate because Torres is 2/3 of the way to third base before the ball is out of the infield. That was just horrible. Those are things that you can control, paying attention to base runners, and a Hader really, really bad in that spot. There's plenty of meat on the bone for Josh to go after next. I just want to add that while the offense, a clutch hit, anybody? You know, their batting average for the series was .259. The Astros batting average for the 2023 season was .259. But the Astros hit .275 with runners in scoring position in 2023. Against the Yankees, 8 for 41, 195, pretty much 98-pound weakling stuff. But unless you think Yordan Alvarez is going to hit 118 all season, and Chas McCormick is going to be under 200, and Alex Bregman's going to be at 200, maybe Jose Abreu will hit 0. Unless you think all of those things are going to hold up, We're not nearly approaching remotely toward the corner where you can see out on the horizon the end of the road. But like last year, the Astros aren't a great team anymore. They're a pretty good team, which we hope will start resembling that sooner than later.
Yeah, if I'm going to look at the positive first, why not? Starting pitching outside of Fromber, pretty good. I mean, JP France on Sunday, I mean, I know his ERA is 4.76, but gave you 5 2/3 in his first start of the season. Only gave up 3 runs, and he's your 5th starter. I think you'll take that the starting pitching's pretty good. Hunter Brown was good. Javier was great. So I like that. What's bothering me, though, is there's some things from last year that were poor, and they've continued in the first 4 games of this season. Fromber, mentioned him already. I have no idea what to expect from him from start to start going forward. Montero, he looks like classic Montero to me. Jose Abreu, my Lord. I mean, he doesn't have a hit yet, as Charlie mentioned. I don't think it's going to turn around. It's only 4 games, but it was such a big sample size last year that I'm not really just looking at the 4 games. And he looks so bad in so many of his at-bats, just quick strikeouts on 3 or 4 pitches. And then Singleton, like, are we still doing this? I know he had a hit on Sunday, and that's great and everything, but could we play Dubon at first base if it's not going to be Abreu or it's not going to be Singleton? I know Dubon's, he's not going to win any MVP awards, but when you're talking about options at first base, backup options, he's a guy I at least trust that if he comes up to the plate, he might get you a hit. And there's a lot of guys in this lineup I don't feel that way about right now. So I'd like to see Dubon get a few more at-bats. And then the bright side, too, Yiner's looking great. So those are my initial observations from the first 4 games.
I think pitch hitting Singleton pitch hitting Abreu for Singleton is like fighting fire with gasoline. Let me just quickly for you guys, are you more concerned by the continued struggles of Fromber, or are you more relieved and encouraged by the overall generally positive performance of the rest of the rotation?
I'll call that a push because Fromber's essential. Whenever Verlander gets back, he's essential. But Fromber is supposed to be their biggest inning eater, that you expect him to go 6 innings. Now, a pretty extended period the second half of last season and in the postseason, he was no longer that guy. If Fromber's going to pitch to an ERA in the mid-4s, that's not going to cut it. And the Astros are going to be in a fight to just make the playoffs. The other guy, Javier, was outstanding. So that's a direct counterbalance to Fromber, the 2 guys who were not good the second half of last season, who you're counting on to be really, really good. First time through the rotation, you don't anticipate guys going 7-8 innings. But that Hunter Brown needed 88 pitches to get through 4 innings. That's why his night was over. He had good results, but he was cooked through 4 innings. And with the Astros not good, bullpen depth, if you're going to ask consistently to get outs 5th, 6th, and often 7th inning, because every time you have a lead or you're in a tie game, you can't every time go, okay, Abreu, Presley, Hader, 7, 8, 9. So that is a real problem. France was okay. It was a keep your team in the game start, right? 5 2/3, 3 runs, ERA over 4.5 is not good for a starting pitcher, but 3 earned runs is okay if your bullpen is going to hold the fort from that point forward. But if you give up 3 runs in a game, 4 runs in a game, more often than not, you should win if your pitching staff is all right. The Astros just need to do more offensively because they were offensive, particularly in the so-called clutch spots, runners in scoring position. Jordan was at least refreshingly candid about it, because I think his reaction to himself was the same as anyone who was watching. What are you doing? Just standing there taking 3 fastballs right in the strike zone. When the Yankees went to Caleb Ferguson, and Jordan said, I'm not sure why I couldn't pull the trigger. We'll presume he figures that out. Alex Bregman, I thought, an amusing choice. I mean, we know that Bregman's a very confident guy, but frankly, I'm glad that he switched after just a couple of games. His walk-up music to start the season was Lupe Fiasco's Superstar. I know it's a contract year and all. Alex Bregman hasn't been a superstar since 2019. So until or if he's going to start performing like it again, calling Baton Rouge, how about calling Sugarland for some help for the soft spots on this Astros roster about now? It's not even 1 week into the season, but an obvious downer. And let's throw in a disgrace that they kept the roof closed I'm even okay with it being closed on Sunday since it was 78 with some humidity. But ideal al fresco playing conditions Thursday, Friday, Saturday. They have no legitimate excuses. The weather was perfect. The temperature was mild. The humidity was low. What, they think their home field advantage is better with the roof closed? That's what you would call moronic. If that's your position, that's the hill you're going to die on at this point. We have so few opportunities to have the roof open. And the Astros, frankly, could use the fresh air because it stinks in Minute Maid Park and has now for a good while when they're playing there with the roof closed.
Yeah, I think we should get into Joe Espada a little bit, right? Like, boy, this is a manager that's not afraid to make some moves and to pinch hit some guys and to move the lineup around. I mean, he did what took Dusty like the whole year. He's already moved Jose Abreu down in the lineup and moved up Yainer Diaz. So he's not messing around. At least he knows what he's seeing. So I'm encouraged by that he's not afraid to, all right, let's, change something on the fly if you think it's going to help the ball club. Chas McCormick, it'd be nice to see a little more out of him. I don't know. The offense in general, it wasn't terrible, but not great because you have some highlights. Like, look at Jeremy Pena. Yeah, he's still striking out on sliders 3 feet outside the zone, but he's getting you some base hits. So there are some positive things there. But yeah, I like what I'm seeing mostly from Espada. I know we second guessed him after that first game of the series a little bit, all the Singleton stuff. That's got to work its way out, right? Like, he's seen Singleton. He's not a new manager that's not really familiar with these guys. He knows what John Singleton is. So I'm wondering when maybe they get away from him a little bit. And I know we crushed Singleton a little bit in our last video. Nothing against John Singleton. It's frustrating that these are the options that the Astros have over there at first base.
Singleton doesn't write his own name in the lineup.
Right.
Singleton could not decree that he's on the major league roster. Right, he's giving them an honest effort. The ball that he dropped on Sunday, good hustle to get out there, and he just wasn't able to squeeze it. It's not like Abreu would have even gotten to that ball. But John Singleton does not belong on a major league roster. There is nothing in his professional curriculum vitae that suggests he belongs. And when you pinch hit him just hoping for a lucky homer or a walk, it just speaks to things. But in the broader view, this offense should be fine. If Alvarez is going to stink, if Tucker is going to be and Bregman's not going to be very good, well, then the offense isn't going to be any good. But what reason is there to believe that Alvarez is going to stink, Tucker is going to be below average, and Bregman's going to be sub-mediocre? If your 2, 3, and 4 hitters are lightweights, your offense is sunk. All right, the Astros offense was sunk against the Yankees. It's not going to be sunk for the season.
Singleton doesn't put his name on the card. You're right about that. But for Espada, there's only so many names you can put on the card. And granted, you can certainly make a case for, and I agree with you, Josh. I think Dubon's a much better logical choice, given the results that we've seen from Singleton thus far. But I do wonder, and again, this is really early, but we can only react to the games that have been played. We can't see how the season's going to play out. So I do wonder. I look at this roster and I see there's depth issues that we've been talking about since spring training. How much rope do Houston fans and media give Dana Brown and by extension, maybe Jim Crane? Because I think even with Dana in place, I think a lot of us still feel that these major decisions, the money decisions that are happening are still coming from Jim Crane, as is most the case with ownership with major league teams. But how much leash is this fan base going to give him, considering the fact that they do have a chip as recent as 22?
Yeah, it is a very short attention span world, but unless the Astros were to just unravel completely, it's not like they're going to be out of contention. I mean, hey, maybe the Rangers turn out to be a 98-win team and the Astros aren't viably in the race in August. The division race. They're not going to be out of the wild card race. And if you're in a spirited wild card race and you get in and then you make a little playoff run, that's a successful season. The Astros are going to be a victim a bit of their own success in recent years. As I said, they weren't anywhere close to a great team last year, and they're certainly not anywhere close to a great team this year. But they were a truly great team 4 of the 6 years before that. I mean, no one can continue that endlessly. Well, maybe the Dodgers can, in the regular season anyway. And in a city that can run hot and cold, a little bit of a front runner thing. The Astros play 500-ish ball at home again this year. They're not going to draw 3 million fans. again this year. Sold out the first 3 games against the Yankees opening weekend. Check the attendance numbers for the Toronto series midweek while school's in session and we're in early April. But I mean, no one should be kicking the team to the curb. They have a disappointing year, so be it. It's going to occur at some point in time. I will say that Jim Crane, overall tenure, obviously sensational. They're carrying a top 5 payroll, depending on how you want to measure it. Cash on the barrelhead for this year, top 3. But the Dodgers, the Ohtani money, really carrying more. But their payroll is at the high end, but they are nickel-dimey in certain areas, right? Singleton makes a little bit over the major league minimum. They chose not to go out and get a legit major leaguer as another bench bat first base alternative. A guy who I go back and forth with some on X, a passionate, pretty astute baseball fan. How come the Astros have shown zero interest in Brandon Belt? Well, no one else has signed him. Brandon Belt has had a good career, left-handed hitting, first baseman, 890 OPS against right-handed hitting last year. He'd be a hell of an upgrade over both Singleton and Abreu. And since he's unemployed, one imagines you could get him for a couple $3 million. So over those couple of $1 million, no, we're going to keep Singleton because he makes $850,000. All the depth relievers, they make peanuts. Well, that's the cost if you give Josh Hader $19 million, the money that Neris, Maton, and Stanek basically make combined. Hader's going to pitch 60 innings. You have a lot more innings to cover that you lost among Neris, Maton, and Stanek. And the guys you're asking to cover those innings, the early indications are, their track records are, they're not going to be up to the job.
Yeah, speaking of the nickel-dimey kind of thing, I mean, that's your bullpen outside of your big 3 for the most part. And Montero's making big money, but I don't think you expected him to be great this year. If you did, that would shock me. So, I mean, Seth Martinez, Parker Mashinsky, Taylor Scott. I mean, these aren't guys where you're like, oh yeah, I remember all the success they had in the big leagues for that team. I mean, these guys are kind of unknowns, and you're having to count on them. I think back to the Jim Crane question, Brandon, I kind of compare what happened with the bullpen over the past few days to the Jose Abreu signing. Like, we all kind of liked the Jose Abreu signing when it happened, and then he came out and had a terrible season. We liked the idea of 7, 8, 9 with Abreu and Presley and Hader. They weren't able to execute. They didn't get it done over the weekend. A lot of those guys struggled. Hader giving up runs, and Presley's giving up runs, Abreu giving up that home run. I mean, so if you're an Astros fan, my point being, I don't think you're upset with these moves. They looked like good moves when they decided to do them. It's just not working out right now. So hopefully, unlike Abreu, I think the 7, 8, 9 bullpen guys are going to be fine this year. Presley's worrying me a little bit. Just, his velo seems to be down a little bit. Is he what he quite used to be? I don't know. It's early in the year. We'll see. But I think the bullpen guys will be good. Abreu, coming back and being a quality bat in your lineup, I have my doubts about that.
Just to quickly throw in with Josh on Presley, I'm guessing not at all as a lack of professionalism, but I have to believe a little bit of the edge is off for Presley after being the 9th inning guy, Mr. Perfect in the postseason for his tenure here. And he said the right things. And outs in the 7th inning, if you're called in to face the heart of the batting order in a close game, those are huge outs. Yeah, but it's not that 9th inning save situation outs. I mean, even the crowd's not going to get revved up the same way to Johnny Cash when Presley's coming in the 6th or 7th inning as when it's the 9th inning and it's a 3-2 game, and here comes Presley striding in from the bullpen. So, look, for the first series of the season, they grade an F. But that's basically the first pop quiz of the semester. It's not anywhere close to midterm or final exam.
Well, nothing against Dana Brown, but I do wonder if we'll look back on the loss of James Click as maybe the beginning of the end for this window of contention for this Astros team. Obviously, it is way too early to call that. That's going to be it for part 1 of Stone Cold Stros. Part 2 is going to be much more positive, and we invite you to listen to that. If you want to listen to the full show, it's up right now at your favorite podcast app. And to watch that conversation on YouTube, just check back here on the channel. We'll be releasing that video shortly. And as always, go Stros.